Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf, which is Shekelim Daf Hey. We are on the bottom of Daled and Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. I'm picking up on that topic of Kolbain, which we began yesterday. The Kolbain is the added fee which was assessed on top of the Machzas HaShekel, whether it was to account for the impurities in the Machzas HaShekel, or whether to account for the expenses. So it was a service fee, a transaction fee added to the Machzas HaShekel. Now the Gemara told us yesterday, if we have Achen Hashutfen, brothers who are partners, they were Yerush, their father's assets, sometimes they're Pater from Maaser Behema, so they're animals which are born, the 10th, they're meant to be given, set aside as a carbon. Shutfen, partners, are Pater from Maaser Behema. So these brothers who are really partners, sometimes will be Pater from Maaser Behema, and sometimes they'll be Pater from the Kolbain. And the simple formula is as follows. The Gemara tells us when they are Pater from Maaser Behema, they are Chayiv and Kolbain. What does that mean? Suppose they divvied up the assets. So they acquired individual ownership, each one on his respective part of the Nechasim, and then they rejoined together as partners. That's a true shutfus. Animals which are born from that partnership is Pater and Maaser Behema, but if they use the joint assets of this partnership to pay for their Machzas HaShekel, they have to add a Kolbain like anybody else. So Maaser Behema Pater, because it's a shutfus, and Kolbain they're Chayiv, because it's personal funds. Suppose they never divided their father's assets. It's still regarded as their father's estate. In this case, Maaser Behema applies because there's no shutfus. They didn't divide and then rejoin as partners. So there's a chiv of Maaser Behema, but they're Pater from Kolbain. Why? Because it's as though their father is giving Machzas HaShekel on their behalf. He's gifting it to them. It's his assets, even though he's not around. It's his estate. It's coming from the same bank account. Their father's Nechasim is paying for their Machzas HaShekel, and as we learned yesterday in the Mishnah, we apply a discount. You give a gift, you grant Machzas HaShekel to somebody else, there's no Kolbain. So the Gemara today will add another 2 scenarios to this situation. 2 lines from the bottom says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Amar, he said as follows. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked the question, V'lama les nan amrin, why don't we add 2 more cases? Pa'amim shein chayavin. At times, they, meaning the brothers, will be obligated b'zeh b'zeh on both accounts, Maaser Behema and Kolbain. Upa'amim shein p'turim mizeh mizeh. And at times, they can be Pater from both. Hey Chavida, how does this work? Let's skip the parenthesis. Cholko ha'nechasim v'lecholko behema. Suppose they split the assets, the monies, the possessions, but not the behemoths. In this case, what's going to happen? Chayavim b'zeh b'zeh. They're chayiv in both. Because once they split the behemoths, and they partnered again, they only split the nechasim, but not the behemoth. So the behemoth was still intact, was remaining in their father's estate. They didn't acquire individual ownership and join it together. There was no partnership at all. So there's a chiv Maaser Behema. At the same time, since they split the other assets, the other possessions, the monies, so it's their own personal money now. When you give Machzas HaShekel from your personal funds, you have to add a Kolbain. So in this case, they're chayiv on Maaser Behema and Kolbain. We have another case, in which case they'll be Pater on both accounts. Cholka Behema, suppose they split the behemoths. They acquired individual bailas on the behemoths. And then they rejoined together as partners. Shutfas is Pater from Maaser Behema. But they didn't split the rest of the assets. In which case, when they give Machzas HaShekel from those monies, it's as though the father is granting it for them. When you give Machzas HaShekel on behalf of somebody else, you're Pater from Kolbain. Therefore, P'turim mizeh mizeh. They'll be Pater from Maaser Behema, because it's a shutfus in the behemoth. Shutfus is Pater Maaser Behema. And the Pater from Kolbain, because it's as though their father is giving on their behalf. So that was his question. Rabbi Yirmiyah, why don't we add another 2 scenarios to the equation. We find several times in the Gemara where Rabbi Yirmi would make all these calculations and come up with many cases, many different scenarios. In any case, we have 4 cases, and the truth is, he's right. We have a total of 4 cases in this halach. So in conclusion, we have Achan HaShutfin, brothers who inherited their father's Yerusha, their partners. We have 4 different cases and 4 different halachas. If they were chokuv and ishtatvu, they split all the assets and then joined together as partners, they're chayiv and kolbin because it's their own private monies that are being used for masas hashekel, which necessitates a kolbin. For masas behema, they're partner because they're partners. So they don't have split the nechasim altogether. It remained as a Yerusha in their father's estate. Kolbin is partner because it's as though the father is giving for them. In which case, there's no chayiv kolbin. Masas behema is chayiv. There's no shutfus. Now, we added another 2 cases today. They split the nechasim but not the behema. So money's possessions were split, but not the animals. Kolbin they're chayiv because they acquired individual ownership on those monies. Machzah shekel given from your own private funds is chayiv and kolbin. Masas behema as well is applied because there was no partnership on the behemoths. The behemoths remained in their original status in their father's estate. In the final case, they split the behemoths, but not the nechasim. So when it comes to monies, it's still in their father's estate. It's as though the father is granting Machzah shekel on behalf of his sons. There's no kolbin in that case. And likewise, there's no Masas behema because they split the behemoths and then joined together as partners. And we know Shutuf is exempt from Masas behema. Continues the Gemara. Omar of Mana. Hado de'at Omar. This that we split the animals from the nechasim, we view them separately. That's only b'shaloi hoisa behema reiv. If most of the assets did not involve behemoths, aval mahoisa ha behema reiv. But if most of the nechasim here, most of the value, I suppose, is behemoths. They're the primary element here. Hey nein ikar nechasim. They're considered the primary nechasim, and we no longer focus on the monies and the other possessions as though they're separate entities from the behema. Meaning, whatever the behema is, everything else gets drawn along. If the behema was split, then we consider everything to be designated and allotted to these brothers. We don't view them any longer in their father's estate. But if the behemoths remained intact, undivided, in that case, everything follows suit, and we consider the nechasim as though they're in their father's estate. So bottom line is, this split view that the previous Gemara proposed, that only applies when the behemoths did not encompass most of the nechasim, which allows us to look at money separately and behemoths separately. But if most of the nechasim involve the behemoths, then they set the tone, they set the stage, and determine the halach. Continues the Gemara of Abin Omar. He said like this: Rab Shammai had a kasha. Why do we say that monies that remained in their father's estate is considered as though the father is giving it on their behalf, and there's a ptur from Masas behema, from Machzas hashekel, the ptur of kolbin and Machzas hashekel. V'pnei she'asisam ka'adam echad eitzel Masas behema. Just because you went l'chumra and you said, well, when the behemoths were undivided, remained in their father's estate, they're considered to be owned as though they're owned by one person, and it's not a shutfus, and therefore there is a chiv of Masas behema. Just because you do that, at poitrim and al kolbin, you're going to apply the same svara to kolbin and say, well, undivided assets and monies are regarded as though they're still their father's, and he's giving it on their behalf, and there's no kolbin. Why? Why should we say that? The bottom line is, the brothers are giving Machzas shekel because they personally have a chiv to do so. It's their Machzas shekel, it's not the father's. Amalei. So he responded, or Amrilei, they responded to him, Loi, no, don't ask this kasha. Shan Yahi. There's a big difference here. Yeah, we could explain it like this. Shu noisin sel echad shlem. Because he's giving one seller. He's giving one coin on behalf of both brothers. What I meant to say is, they're taking from one bank account, from one source, from the same address, from the same pot, the father's money. Yeah, although they're fulfilling their own personal obligations, but it's coming from that source, and it's considered as though he's giving it on their behalf, and there's a p'tur kolban. Meyat, if that's the case, says the Gemara, if you view the source as the determinant here, afilu cholko b'chazav nishtatu, chayav masa behema, even if they split the assets amongst themselves and then rejoin together as partners, you should say, they're chayav masa behema. It's not really a partnership because it's their father's monies, their father's behemoths. Uptur min al-kolban, and they should still be patur from kolban because, once again, it's their father's money. But we know that's not so. Once they split and join together, it's a new entity. They're incorporated anew. But Tanina, we learned in our Mishnah, in this case, chayavim b'kolban. Certainly, they're chayavim kolban because it's their personal monies that are being directed for their machzah shekel. Uptur masa behem, the pot of masa behem, because it's a partnership. Why don't we say that it's related and identified with their father, and not with the individual brothers? And the answer is obvious. The Gemara sort of doesn't bother responding because the answer seems to be pashut, because when you left the money undivided, it's still considered their father's. It's identified with their father. Whereas once they split it and they acquired individual ownership, it changed hands. It changed status. It's their money and has a different halach. Continues the Gemara. Rabba b'shem Abba Barav Huna. He presented the following chiddush. We speak about brothers relating to their father. He shnei achem sheyosh savin. The same halacha that applies to brothers being yerush their father. Where we say, well, if it's still as yet undivided, it's considered their father's estate. That same halacha applies to he shnei gisen sheyoshes chameya. Same thing applies to two brother-in-laws, shnei gisen, that were yerush as chameya and their father-in-law, even though they're only being yerush by way of their wives. It's an indirect yerusha, but they're still relating to their father-in-law. It's still being drawn from there. And if it's as yet undivided, we consider their monies to be coming from the same source, and there's no kolban. Okay, so we speak so much about kolban. What do they do with the kolban coin? Where would they take the kolbanis? What would they use it for? It says more, it was used for the same purpose as the shkelim. See, your mayor yesterday told us that the point of the kolban was to account for the impurity in the machzah shekel, and it was mandated minat Torah. That's why it was directed to the same purpose as the shkelim themselves, to fund the karbanis tzibur. Rabbi Lezer Amar Nadava. It was used for something similar to karbanis tzibur, for the oilos nadava used on the mizbeach. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Aimer, Rikua Zav was made to purchase these gold plates, v'tzipur lebeis kodesh hakadoshim, to paste, to use as a wallpaper, covering for the walls of the Kodesh Kadosh. Benazir Omer, Shulchanan hayu noitlin oisam b'schar, it was given for the Shulchanan as a salary. The bankers took it for a salary. Vish Omer l'tzos drachim, it was used to cover the expenses of transporting and delivering the Masa Shech to Yerushalayim. Hadron lach perek be'echad bad. Mitzarfen shkolom darkonis. So now the bankers collected tons of these small coins, and it was quite difficult to transport them to Yerushalayim. Instead, they would convert the shkolom to larger and more valuable coins, which were called darkonis. B'pnei masu yaderech, to make it easier for transporting to Yerushalayim. So they would transfer and convert these shkolim to gold coins. Just as they set up the pushkas, which were shaped as shefaris, narrow on top, wide on bottom, so they dropped the coins in on top and then they opened the bottoms to take out the content. Just as they had that b'migdash, the Rambam learns migdash means in Yerushalayim. Likewise, they set up shafaris throughout the cities of Klal Yisrael. Bnei Yair shesholchu es Shekelim. Suppose the Bnei Yair, the fellows of this town, found a shliach to take their machzis hashekel to Yerushalayim. V'nignevu avdu, and the monies got stolen or lost. Are they chayiv to resend the machzis hashekel? Who's accountable? Who's responsible? It depends. Im nitruma truma. We learned on the first day of Pesach Shekelim there's something called trumas halishka. So when all monies arrived, they would withdraw a certain amount, which was meant to be used for the karbanis tzibur. It's a truma, and as we're going to learn soon, the Gemara, the truma was applied to all the machzis hashekels, which were going to arrive later on, even if they haven't yet arrived. So they had everybody in mind, because everybody's meant to have a chelik in funding the karbanis tzibur. So here they sent their shkelim, and they never made it to Yerushalayim. They got lost or stolen. Says the Mishnah, Im nitruma truma. If the truma was already separated before their shipment got lost or stolen, in which case they were already included in the public funding of the karbanis, because the truma included them as well. They were incorporated into that truma. So now they have a chelik in the karbanis tzibur, even though their money never arrived. In which case they're pater from sending new money. They were already yoytze their mitzvah. So then are chayiv to send again. So who took the loss? The gizbar, the administrator, the hegdish actually got hit with the loss. So the shliach who lost the money, he has to verify the account. He has to of the story. He has to confirm the facts. He has to prove his innocence. He has to make a shvur. To who does he have to confirm that? Who is he going to swear to? Not to the Bnei Yair. The fellows of this town are unconcerned. They're not chayiv anymore. So they're not a baldover. They're not litigators here. Rather, the shliach will make a shvur to the gizbar, because he's actually taking the loss. Nishbon the gizbaran, the emissaries have to make a shvur to the gizbaran of Hegdish and confirm their innocence. Vimlav. Suppose the coins were lost prior to truma being separated in the Beis HaMikdash, in which case they were not included in that truma, and they have to resend their shkelim. So who took the loss? The Bnei Yair. So to whom do the shluchim who lost the money have to establish their innocence? Who do they have to swear to? The Bnei Yair. V'imlav nishboin the Bnei Yair. So they swear to the Bnei Yair. Yep, we were held up on the road. We lost the money. It was stolen. And Ubnei Yair shekelim tachteim. They have to go and send another bundle of machzah shekels instead of the first ones. So the point is that the shliach will have to swear to the one who took the loss. If the Bnei Yair lost out, they have to resend their shekel, because it was lost before Trumas Halishka was taken. They were not included in the Karban Tzibur, in the public funding of the Karban Tzibur. They have to resend. So the shliach have to swear to them. If this incident occurred after Trumas Halishka was taken, in which case the Bnei Yair was already yoytze, and they're not taking any loss here. Rather, it's the gizbar is taking the loss. Shliach has to be nishbat to the gizbar. Suppose the monies were found later on, or the ganavim returned them. Now we have two batches of machzah shekels. They both have a din of shkelim. The Bnei Yair were miyayish. They gave up hope that they're going to find the first shipment. So when they were mafresh the second shipment, the second batch, it was with the full heart. So now we have two batches of shkelim which have a din of shkelim, and they're both directed for Beis HaMikdash use. And they can't use it for next year. Both batches, both shipments, will be brought to Beis HaMikdash and applied for this year. And the Gemara later will tell us what he meant to do with each one. So the Mishnah began by describing the conversion process. They would take the small shkelim and convert them into gold, expensive gold coins to make for easy transportation. Why don't they do something better? Convert it into pearls, into diamonds. In which case they can convert much more volume into a smaller item and make for easier transportation. Shema Tazlam Argolis, we're concerned that the precious stones will go down in value. V'nimtza Hegdesh Mafsid, in which case Hefsed will lose out. So rather use gold coins which have intrinsic value. In those days, the coins were valued based on the value of the metal and the weight of the metal. So it's intrinsic value, which doesn't really fluctuate too much. So that will keep the value steady and secure, rather than transferring it into items which have fluctuating value, like margolius. Kahida Tanina, as we find the Mishnah, Taman over there in Bechiris, that we're concerned about this situation. V'kulon, all types of things like hegdish, niftin bekesef, b'shava kesef. You can redeem it with money or with something that has value. It doesn't have to be money. You can take your hegdish and redeem it with any item that has value. Chutz mishkol except for machzas shekel. Not only initially do you have to actually give a coin, which is required. We learned yesterday, you have to give a coin. But even later on, if the shluchim want to make it easier for transporting, you're not meant to exchange, you're not meant to transfer the machzas shekel and convert it into shava kesef. It has to remain money, coins. Vein poidim bekelim, why don't you convert them into kelim? Maybe the kelim will go down in price. And Hegdish will lose out. So that explains the Mishnah there. Here as well, in our case, we don't convert the machzas shekel coins into precious stones. Shema tazla margolios. Perhaps the margolios will go down in price. V'nimtza Hegdish mafsid, and Hefsed will lose out. Ma'asnisa b'takal chadatim. When the Mishnah spoke about these shiforis, these pushkas, which were situated throughout the towns, that's only to collect the taklan, the shkolim chadatim, the new ones. This year's shkolim. Aval b'taklan atikin loy b'da. But to collect last year's shkolim, suppose somebody still has to catch up for last year, and has to give those shkolim, the taklan atikin, the old ones, loy b'da. This doesn't apply, meaning they didn't position sheforas throughout the towns for that purpose. It's going to create confusion, which one's the new, which one's the old. Apparently it wasn't such a common occurrence that one would bring old shkolim, meaning shkolim for last year. So they didn't see a need to place containers throughout the cities for that purpose, but certainly had to be sent to Yerushalayim, to Beis HaMikdash, and then directed to a container in the Beis HaMikdash. V'tani kain, and we learned likewise in the Brisa, Atikin HaMikdash, the containers for the old shkolim were placed in the Mikdash, Ve'en Atikin Medina, but not out in the cities. Our Mishnah, which discusses the shkolim which got lost en route, and the shliach will simply swear to prove his innocence. Evidently, he's speaking on Hashem Chinam. He's watching these coins without charging a fee, in which case he's exempt when something got lost under his watch or stolen. He's not obligated in that case. So it explains the Mishnah why he's swearing to prove his innocence. Look, it got lost and stolen, I'm pater. But when it comes to a shomer sachar, who is hired to do the job, this doesn't apply because he would be obligated. He would be held responsible even when it's lost or stolen. So apparently our Mishnah is speaking about a shomer chinim who's pater in that case. You know what? The Mishnah could even be speaking about a shomer sachar, because we know that if it was lost or stolen in a oines circumstance beyond his control, then even a shomer sachar is potter. And that's what the Mishnah is speaking about. When we say nignavu, they were lost, but let's mazoyin. We're speaking about robbers who mazoyin, armed robbers, which is an oines. Even a shomer sachar is potter there. Avdu, we speak about lost. We're speaking that his ship sank at sea, which was beyond his control, and that's oines. And therefore, even a shomer sachar would be potter. He simply makes a shvua and walks away. Our Mishnah, which tells us that if the truma, truma, occurred prior to the shkolim getting lost en route, then the bnei ir already acquired a chelik in that public fund and have a chelik in Karbanis Tzibur, and therefore there's no need for them to send another batch. This halacha is Asher Command Omar. It follows the Shita who says Termin ala Gavoy Vala Asad Ligbois. That when they do Trumas Halishka and the they have everybody in mind. Money which was Gavi already collected and still en route. Vala Asad Ligbois, money which was not yet collected but is going to be collected. Even that they have in mind. And therefore monies which are en route are certainly included in the Trumas Halishka. But Kimanda Oma Ein Toimen, the one that does not hold of this halacha. He says, Ein Toimen, Loyal Gibui, Vala Asad Ligbois. He doesn't hold of this halacha. The Tumas Halishka is only applied to monies which are here. Loy Beda, then this Mishnah doesn't apply. Our Mishnah can't work with that Shita. We clearly learn in our Mishnah that the Tumas Halishka is applied to all monies, even those which have not yet arrived. B'nei Ir Sheshaklo Shekelim, Mishnah tells us, if monies get lost en route, the Shliach will make a Shvuah. The Kasha is, Machzas HaShekel is a form of Hegdish money. Hegdish has no shvur. We learn it more about Makama. We exempt it from apostle. There's no shvur by Hegdish. So why is there a shvur by us? Amar Balazar to Reb Shimoni. Apparently our Mishnah is following Reb Shimon's Shita. The Reb Shimon Omer, he says, Kachim, shechu chayav b'achrayuson kenachosafim. Kachim, on which the owner, the Maglish, assumes responsibility. He must secure it and watch it. Because if something happens, he has to go and compensate Hegdish. For instance, if it's a neder, his chay b'achrayus kenachosafim is regarded like his possession. It's as though he's an owner. And therefore by us, since the senders of the Machzah Shekel are still obligated to look after the Machzah Shekel, they have achrayus. So although technically it's Hegdish, but since they assume responsibility, the ongoing achrayus is tantamount to ownership. And that's why there's a shvur involved. When it gets lost, we consider it as though it's non-Hegdish with respect to shvur. That's one approach. Again, we're following Reb Shimon. Something on which you have achrayus is considered like yours, and therefore a shvur is appropriate. We have a second approach. Rabbi Yehuda Divrei HaKoili. The Mishnah follows all shittas, not only Reb Shimon. Shvur mishum takana. The reason why there's a shvur is on account of takanas chachamim. Chachamim wanted to ensure safety and security of the machzis hashekels. They wanted to eliminate zilzal, disregard, neglect. Therefore, they instituted that a shvuah must be made, so the shliach will be careful before he loses that money. He'll be careful. He knows that he's going to have to give a shvuah afterwards to account for what happened. So, although you're right, man, there's no shvuah by Hegdish, but the Rabbanan, they instituted a shvuah. Says the Gemara, "Daiti to Rabbi Yehuda Nicha." According to Rabbi Yehuda, we understand the full Mishnah. Right? We had two cases in the Mishnah. The case where the Bnei Ha'ir, the senders, were on the losing end of things. They were hit by the loss, and therefore the shvuah was made to them. We have the second case in the Mishnah where the Hegdish took the loss, in which case the shvuah must be made to Hegdish. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we understand both parts of the Mishnah. Because according to Rabbi Yehuda, we're speaking about a shvuah d'Rabbanan. It doesn't have to conform to ordinary, typical shvuah guidelines. It's a special takana to eliminate neglect. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we understand fully well both cases in the Mishnah. Nishbon the Gizbar. If the Gizbar, the Hegdish, took the loss, shvuah is directed to them. V'imlav, if the Bnei Ir took the loss, Nishbon the Bnei Ir, the shvuah is directed to Bnei Ir. Ubnei Ir shekel tachteim, and the Bnei Ir have to resend the Machzah Shekel. And the reason why there's a shvuah in both cases, Mishum shvuah is takana, because of the takana's chacham. That's good. Ela the Rabbi Lezer. What Rabbi Lezer says, the reason why there's a shvuah is because we're following shittas of Shimon, something on which you have achrayus. Like in this case, the Bnei Ir are responsible for the safe delivery of the Machzah Shekel. We consider as though they're part owners, and a shvuah is applied. That explains the shvuah to the Bnei Ir. El Reb Lezer nishboy lebnei Ir. That halacha, that when the Bnei Ir experienced the loss, they are in the position to demand a shvua, that's understood. Hadoi, the Reb Shimon explains it because it's Reb Shimon. They have achrayus. It's like it's theirs. So they can demand a shvua. But the other halach in the Mishnah, where? They only found out the loss or the losing and the geneva of the money only occurred after Tumas Halishka took place, in which case the Bnei Ir are now included in the funding. They're no longer achrayus, they no longer have to pay, they don't experience the loss. It's rather the hegdish that gets hit. And the shvua is going to be directed to the hegdish. Nishboin legizbar. So the Mishnah says that the shliach, or the shluchim, on nishboin legizbar, they have to make the shvua to the gizbar. Gizbar might be the tayo. What are the gizbarim doing in the picture here? They're hegdish. You don't make a shvua to hegdish. So the first halach we understand. When the Bnei Ir took the loss, okay, when you have achrayus, it says, oh, you're an owner. So although technically the monies were hegdish, but we're following Reb Shimon, achrayus equals ownership. So the shliach has to make a shvua to prove his innocence, establish his credibility to the Bnei Ir. That we understand. But in the other case, where the gizbarim took the loss, Bnei Ir are exempt. And the gizbar, the hegdish, took the loss, the shvua takes place with the gizbar. Gizbar is the administrative hegdish. There's no reason to make a shvua to a hegdish. That never happens. It says, well, you're right. That's not what the Mishnah means. The Mishnah is speaking about when the shliach was a shemes sachar, hired for the job, he lost the money en route. But he comes back to the Bnei Ir, he says, look, it wasn't my fault. I was held up on the road. It was an armed robbery. I'm an eyewitness. Please, let me have my wages. You hired me for the job. He wants to collect that. So he comes back to them, and he has to prove his innocence. Perhaps he pocketed the money, right? So he has to prove himself and say, look, I'm going to swear this is what happened. All for the purpose of collecting his fee. So that's what the Mishnah is speaking about. Nishboin l'bnei Ir. They're going to make a shvua to the Bnei Ir in order to collect their fee. B'mamad gizbarim. When the Mishnah says they make a shvua to gizbarim, it just means that the gizbarim are present. They observe that ceremony. Why? Why do we want them to be there? They're not really players here. So the gizbarim, who really suffered the loss here, should not suspect the shliach of pocketing the money. They're going to say, well, these fellows took the money for themselves, so we want them to be there. So they witness the shvua, which is taking place between the shluchim and the senders, the Bnei Ir. So they're not choshed those shluchim. Inami, another version would be, so the gizbarim who experienced that loss should not regard the shluchim as neglectors. Poishim, it was negligence. No. We want them to see that they're honest people, men of integrity. So we want them to be there. When the shluchim make a shvua to who? Not to the gizbarim, because they're to the Bnei Ir. So that explains the Mishnah. So basically we have two approaches in the Mishnah. Akasha, how can you make a shvua for mammon hegdish? Hegdish never generates shvuos. We have two terutzim. Rabbi Yechon's pshat, it's the Rabbanon. It was to eliminate zilzal and neglect and carelessness. Therefore, the Chacham Machayev shvua. You lost it, you have to swear. So if the Bnei Ir experienced the loss, they make a shvua to the Bnei Ir to prove their innocence. If the Gizbar experienced the loss, then they have to make a shvua to the Gizbar. That's all the Rabban. Going to the other approach, we speak about a shvua and Torah, because something for which you have achrayus, you're considered like an owner, even though it's hektish. So when the Bnei Ir experienced the loss, the shvua has to be done to them. When the Gizbar experiences the loss, no shvua is applied there, because you don't make a shvua to hektish, regardless. This whole concept doesn't apply to hektish. Hektish doesn't have achrayus and ownership. It doesn't work like that. Hegdish is Hegdish. There's no non-Hegdish entity to which you can make a shvua. So the shvua, you're right, is not to Hegdish. Rather, it's to the Bnei Ir. You're coming to collect their fee, delivery fee. So they have to prove their innocence. but we want the Gizbar to be present. This way they'll be sure and confident that no money, no foul play took place. Continues the Gemara. So we speak about a shvuah and two reasons for the shvuah. What about if the Bnei Ir were the ones who experienced the loss, but they decide to forego the shvuah privilege? Now really, they're in the position to demand the shvuah. Prove your innocence. Look, you generated a loss for us. You lost our money. We have to resend it. But then, they think to themselves, we're going to make this guy make a shvuah, Shem Hashem, or to say Torah. We don't want that. We are mevater on the shvuah. Can they do that? Says the according to Rabbi Yehuda, they cannot. Why? If the reason for shvuah is only a takana d'Rabbanan, in order to ensure the integrity of the process, to avoid and eliminate zilzal and negligence, then it's not up to you to decide whether your litigant should make a shvuah. You can't give that up. Chacham instituted a shvuah to ensure that the mom and hegdish is cared for properly. Afal says the Gemara, Shekiblu b'nei ir l'shalom. Even if the b'nei ir decide, you know what, we're going to pay for the loss without a shvuah. We don't want him to swear. In a hegdish, yotzei shvuah. No, a shvuah is still applied. Hegdish cannot be let go without a shvuah. Meaning, there's a chiyuv whenever it involves mom and hegdish. Chacham obligated a shvuah. They instituted a shvuah regardless of your wishes. So according to the pshat that the shvuah is benat Torah, Reb Shimon, if you have a achrayis, you're like an owner, and therefore you have a right to demand the shvuah, well then you could forfeit the rights for the shvuah. That's okay. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's a shvuah midrabbanan. It's not up to you. You're not a man d'amar on that shvuah. It's not you demanding the shvuah, it's the Chazal that instituted the shvuah. Therefore shvuah takes place regardless. Here for Shekelim v'avad. Suppose a person designated a machzah shekel and somehow it went missing. Is he still responsible? Does he have to ensure safe passage and delivery to Yerushalayim? Rabbi Yehuda Amar Chai B'Char Yisai Ad Shiyim Sereno LeGizbar. He has to look after it. He's accountable for it until he gives it over to the administrator, or as we just learned, until the Trumas Halishka was separated, in which case he automatically is incorporated in that and he's potter. But up until that point, he's accountable for the lost machzah shekel. Reb Shimon Lakish Omer, no. Hegdish b'rishus hagavoya b'chol makom shehu. The pasuk says, "L'Hashem ha'aretz maloya." Something which belongs to Hegdish is in the possession of Hashem of Gavoya wherever he is. So even though it's not by you, it's lost somewhere, it's still in the same place. It's in Hegdish. It's rishus. So as long as you will mafresh that shekel, you're potter from looking after it. Of course, ideally you should deliver it to the Beis HaMikdash so that the mitzvah is properly fulfilled. You have a chelik in the korban tzibur. But if it should go missing, you're potter. Masnisna pligal rishon malakish. Our Mishnah seems to be inconsistent with Rish Lakish. We speak about money lost en route, and if it was lost prior to Trumas Halishka, they're responsible to replenish. They have to resend the Matzah Shekel. And the Shluchim have to make a shvuah to who? To the ones that experienced the loss. In this case, it's the Bnei Ir. Nishborn the Bnei Ir. They have to swear, yeah, it was an Einis or whatever. Bnei Ir Shekel Tachteyem. And the Bnei Ir have to resend new funds instead of the first ones. According to Rish Lakish, once you've designated your Matzah Shekel, you're scot-free. You no longer have to look after it. So why did they have to resend? Said Malay, that's not a kash. Oidhi, this is also Mishum Shvuah Satakana. Just as we explained earlier, that the Shvuah is not Manat Torah, rather it was instituted by Chazal to eliminate fraud and negligence. This as well. This chiyuv, to resend your money, was instituted in order to ensure that they're careful when they send their monies. Don't just send it with anybody. Make sure that it's somebody reliable. It's safe and secure. Apparently Shekelim were something that were very often sent from out of town. So this is a process which was a very common process. Chachamim wanted you to take it seriously. So they said, well, if it gets lost, under certain circumstances, if it gets lost, you have to resend the money. This way they'll be careful initially to send it safely and securely. Continues the Gemara. We speak about the Bnei Ir, sending once, sending again. Now, if the first ones should resurface, we have two batches of Machzah Shekel, they're both used in the Beis HaMikdash. Tani, we learned in the Brisa. Harishonim Neiflin. The first ones, the first batch, Harishonim Neiflim L'Takn Chadatin. They were used like new, current year Machzah Shekels, which have a certain designation to them. Vashnim, it's the second batch, Neiflin L'Takn Atikin. They're treated and used, they're earmarked to be used like old coins, like last year's coins. The Gemara later, throughout the Masechta, will discuss exactly what each one was used for. The only question here is, what is first and what is second? Elu heina rishonim, elu nashnim. What do you call first and what do you call second? B'machlekes. Rabbi Pinchas, Bei Rabbi Chia, from the Beis Medrash Rabbi Chia, and Rav Abba Mari, so had a machlekes with Abba Mari. So these two had a machlekes. How do you define first or second? Chadam, one maintained, Elu shesholcha bnei er tchila. First means the ones that was sent out first. You initiated that mitzvah by sending it out, that's called first. And the ones you sent out second are called second. The Charonam and the other maintain just the opposite. Elu sheigil the gizbaran tchila. The ones that arrived to the gizbaran first, you've arrived. You received by Hegdish. That's the true fulfillment of the Machzah Shekel. The ones that arrived first, they're regarded as the Rishonim, the primary Machzah Shekel. They're considered like Takon Chadad, fresh ones, current ones, and are applied to the Korban Tzibur. Whereas the second batch, which arrives later, they're secondary, and they're considered like last year's Shekelim. They're not treated the same way as this year's Shekelim. So in summary, we learned about the Bnei Ir that sent their Shekelim. And they were stolen or lost, en route, never arrived in Beis HaMikdash. Says the Mishnah, depends. If the Trumas Halishka was done prior to the Shekelim getting lost or stolen, then the Bnei Ir already yotze their mitzvah. They were already included in this public fund. There's no need for them to send another batch. However, if it was lost prior to Trumas Halishka, in which case they were not included, they're chayav to send another batch. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, as we just learned, it's minat Torah, because you have achrayus for your Machzah Shekel. According to Rish Lakish, it's only midrabanan. Minat Torah, technically you're potter once you are mafresh it, but midrabanan they want to eliminate fraud and ensure safety and security, and to encourage you to be careful with the Machzah Shekel. Therefore, they will machayiv you to send another batch. Now, what is the status of the shliach who lost the money? We're speaking either he's a shem chinam, in which case he's pater for gneva aveda, he's going to prove his innocence by making a shvo, or even a shem esacha, but an oinus occurred, which is beyond his control, so you make a shvo too. So in the first case, where nitruma truma, which case the bnei ira pater, who experienced the loss in this case? The gizbar, the hegdish. He's going to make a shvo to the gizbar to prove his innocence. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's a shema d'Rabbanan, it's a takan d'Rabbanan, in order to eliminate zilzal and carelessness. According to Alep Shat in the Gemara, the shvuah here is to the Bnei Ir. He's simply coming to collect his fee. The Gizbar are standing by to witness the event. In the second case in the Mishnah, where Lo Nitruma Truma, in which case the Bnei Ir have to resend their shekel. They're the ones that are getting hit by the loss. The shliach will have to make a shvuah to the Bnei Ir to prove his innocence. Once again, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's only the Rabbanon, because technically a shvuah and hegdish will not apply. It's only the Rabbanon. Whereas according to the other approach in the Gemara, it's minat Torah. Following Shittas Rabbi Shimon, the Bnei Ir have achrayus on this Machzah Shekel. Therefore, it's considered as though they're owners. It has that non-hegdish element to it, which can generate a shvuah. Continues the Mishnah, Hanoisein shikler lechaver. Suppose Reuven gave a Machzah Shekel to Shimon, lishkol al yodeh, so that Shimon delivers it to the Beis HaMikdash on Reuven's behalf. V'shachloi al yedei atzmoi. Shimon decided to take that coin and donate it for his own Machzah Shekel purposes. Im nitruma truma. If the Gizbar already did Trumas Halishka in the Beis HaMikdash, before Shimon diverted this money for his personal benefit, what happens during Trumas Halishka? all these monies, even the ones that haven't yet arrived, are incorporated into that public fund, in which case we treat this money as Hegdish money. Since Shimon diverted Hegdish money for his personal benefit, and we're speaking, of course, that the money was eventually used to purchase a behema, in which case it left, the Rishus Hegdish was converted, it changed hands. So he took Hegdish money and he made it Chulin for his own personal benefit. Mal, Shimon committed Me'ilah, he has to bring a Korban Me'ilah. We have another case. Shekelim and Hegdish. Suppose Reuven has Hegdish money, ordinary Hegdish money in his possession. He decided to use it for his Matzah Shekel. V'nitruma truma, v'karva behema, and the Gizber eventually did Trumas Halishka, purchased a behema with it, in which case that money changed hands, left Hegdish, change of status. So since he took Hegdish money and for his own personal benefit, he converted from Hegdish to non-Hegdish. It was used to purchase an animal. Mal. This fellow as well committed Me'ilah. In the third case we have that he used Maser Sheni money for his shekel. Maser Sheni. He has money which was used to redeem Maser Sheni. That money is meant to be used strictly to purchase food in Yerushalayim. And he decided to use it for Maser Shekel. Umid Mei Shvius, or he used Shvius money. Again, money which was used to redeem Shemitah fruit, also can only be used for eating purposes. And he diverted it to his Maser Shekel, Yechel Kenegdon. He has to make it up by taking other monies, as the Gemara will explain. HaShoikel v'chul. Mishnah tells us in the middle case, he took Hegdish money, diverted it for his Maser Shekel. If there was a Trumas Halishka that took place afterwards and the animal was purchased, in which case the money changed hands, left Hegdish. As a result of his diversion, he's Me'ilah, he's Moyel. Anan Taninan im Kavah Behema. We speak about the Behema being purchased as a precondition for his Me'ilah. Utani Dvei Rebbe. However, in the Bryce of Rebbe we say Im Nitra Truma. As long as there was Trumas Halishka that occurred after his diversion, that's enough. You don't have to purchase the animal. How do we reconcile these two versions of the Mishnah Bryce? Continues the Gemara after the parentheses. Man Tana Im Nitra Truma. Who's the author of our Mishnah, which says Nitra Truma is sufficient to generate Me'ilah? That's considered a change of hands, a change of ownership. Rabbi Shimon. Why? The Amr Rabbi Shimon miyad hayemekabel ma'isa akaram zrizim. Rabbi Shimon is speaking about the halacha of a delivery fellow, a fellow who delivered supplies, the animals to Beis Hamikdash. According to Rabbanan, he wouldn't necessarily receive payment immediately. Only after a while. This is discussed elsewhere. Rabbi Shimon says no. He would receive payment immediately. And immediately they will go be marked the carbon. The point here is that, according to Rabbi Shimon, as soon as they did Trumas Halishka, they separated the funds for public use. They would right away buy the animal. Let's say the first day of Nisan, they have Trumas Halishka, right away purchase the animal, pay for it, and be marked of it. So really, when our Mishnah speaks about Nitra Truma, it's really the same as saying an animal was purchased, because it took place in close succession. So the Mishnah and the Bryce are really speaking of the same thing. Bottom line is, you take Mois Hegdish, and you divert it for your own personal Chiyav of Matzah Shekel, and then the Truma took place, and immediately followed with purchase of a carbon. So that money left Hegdish proper. It changed hands, and as a result of you, right, Mois Hegdish was now given to the supply of the animals. You did Me'ilah. Continues the Gemara. Let's go back to the first case in the Mishnah. Reuven sent a Matzah Shekel with Shimon. Shimon donated it on behalf of himself. We say there's Me'ilah. V'kash, we have a problem with that. Ilu hagoynev oilosai shel chaver. Suppose somebody steals his friend's oila, v'shachte stam, and he shechts it without specifying. Stama loyla shem ba'al merishen v'chaperes. Should we not say that it remains Reuven's carbon? It's mechaper for Reuven. Here as well, just because he happened to take his friend's shekel and in his mind he wanted it to be used for himself, he didn't specify. Dvarim shebalev, unexpressed words don't have an effect. It remains Reuven's shekel. Nothing happened. Like Reuven's carbon remains Reuven's. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, We must explain the Mishnah like this. The Mishnah tells us later that the family of Gamliel, they had an interesting practice. They would wait until the Gizber comes along to remove some funds for Trumas Halishka. They wanted that their coin should end up in that Truma. They don't want it to remain behind in the Shiori Halishka, the leftover money which was not used for the Mizbeach Karbanis. They stood there, just in the nick of time, they would flip their coin in the direction of this fellow who would be doing the Truma, and the coin would end up inside that container and be used for the Mizbeach. So here we're speaking about a similar case. Reuven sent his coin with Shimon to deliver to Beis HaMikdash. Shimon positioned himself right there by the Lishka, by the chamber, when the Gizber was coming to Tumas HaLishka, and he flipped his coin in the right direction. By doing so, he indicated that he had a personal interest here. It's for me. It's on my behalf. By doing so, he unlinked it, disengaged it from Reuven, and applied it to himself. That's why there was a diversion. Mishal Beisram Gamliel, Shemiskav V'doichel he would stand there and intentionally try to get it into the container. Says, well, we have a problem. Why is there Me'ilah here? V'chosh loymar, don't we have to suspect Shem l'shirayim him neiflin? We know that Me'ilah only applies to something which was designated for Mizbeach use. But the leftover money in the Lishka, Shirayim are not used for the Mizbeach. There's no Me'ilah here. So just because Shimon diverted Reuven's coin for his own personal benefit, why is there Me'ilah? Who says Reuven's coin was going to end up in the container of funds used to purchase the Karbanis? Maybe it was going to end up in the Lishka, in the Shiyarei Lishka, the leftover money. In which case there's no Me'ilah here. So why does Shimon have to bring Karba Me'ilah? By misusing and misdirecting Reuven Machzah Shekel, which in any case wasn't meant for the Mizbeach. V'chiyesh Me'ilah b'shirayim? Is there Me'ilah for benefiting from leftover funds? Apparently following Rabbi Meir, yeah, Me'ilah b'shirayim, there's Me'ilah even on that. Oidhi, another teretz can be said, the Reuven initially asked Shimon, you know what? I want you to make sure that my coin ends up in that container used to buy Karbanis for the Beis HaMikdash. Like the Mesuyam Shbeis HaMliel, who would specifically pitch their coins in that direction. Shem Eskaven, V'term L'shmoi, they would stand there and intentionally try to get it in a way that the Truma would include his money. So this money was meant to be used for the Mizbeach. And that's why when Shimon diverts it for personal use, he has committed Me'ilah. Says to Nana, what hana did he have by diverting these funds? A mitzvah is not called hana. It's not a physical hana. There's no Me'ilah just because I used it for my mitzvah. Why am I chayiv Me'ilah? Rab Abban, M'shem Rabbanon, the Taman. Rab Abban said in the name of the Rabbanon over there, from Bavel, since when a person fails to give us a shekel, Bezdin comes along and takes in mashkin, as we learned the other day. And they didn't do it to him. He avoided the collection agency. We regard it like hana. That's the benefit that he derived by using somebody else's money for masa shekel. The Mishnah concludes, if you use masa sheni money or shvius money, he has to make it up. The Pasuk says, a firstborn animal, a person can't be magdashit. It's already kodesh. It's a carbon, kosher kodesh. Something which is already kodesh. A kedusha chalalov. You can add another kedusha. This fellow used maser sheni money which has kedusha. He can't use it for maser shekel. Doesn't work. So what should he do? He contributed maser sheni money which can't become maser shekel. So what should he do? Maybe sell a shulchun. Should bring a chulin coin. He says like this: Mos maser sheni b'chol makam shein. You know, wherever my maser sheni money is right now, sitting somewhere in the Beis HaMikdash, the kedusha should be transferred on this money. And that coin will now attract and acquire the kedusha l'shem maser sheni. Will be considered maser sheni. And the other money which he contributed, which is now somewhere in the Beis HaMikdash, is considered maser shekel. So he transferred the kedusha from the maser sheni onto this coin, allowing the coin that he donated to become maser shekel and be incorporated in the public fund. So in conclusion, we learned, if one gives his maser shekel using his friend's shekel, and we're speaking that the Trumas Halishka already took place, in which case that money is already part of the public fund, it's hegdish, he did me'ilah by misusing that money. We're speaking that he directed his coin to the container during the Tumas Halishka, the container which contained the money used to purchase the karbanos on the Mizbech. By doing so, he demonstrated his own personal interest here, and he's redirecting his friend's money for his own personal use. Now, why is there Me'ilah on this money? The Gemara gave one of two reasons. Either because initially his friend had asked him to make sure this money is used to fund the karbanos on the Mizbech, so it's Mizbeach money, which has Me'ilah. Or we're speaking about monies which were meant to be perhaps left in the room, Shirayim. Well, following Rav Meir says, even that has Me'ilah. In the second case, he used True Mois Hegdish for Machzas HaShekel. There as well, if it was used to purchase a carbon, he did Me'ilah. In the third case, where he used Mammon of Maser Sheni or Shvius, he has to go and transfer that Kedusha on new money, thereby allowing the money that he contributed to be applied for the Machzas HaShekel. Let's make a quick chazara on today's daf. We learned that the father's estate, which provides Machzas HaShekel for the children, is patur from kolban. We learned that a shutfus is patur from Masa Behema. What did they use the kolban for? We have 5 shitas. They used to go ahead and convert the Machzas HaShekels to high-value coins to make the transporting process easier. We learned about the coins that were lost en route. So if the senders, the Bnei Ir, were the ones who lost out, then the shliach has to make a shvur to them. If the hegdish was the one who lost out, shliach has to make a shvur to the hegdish. We learned about a person who does Machzas HaShekel using unauthorized funds, and the 3 cases and halachas involved therein. Kol tov and atzlacha rabba.